Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast Efficiency Now. Don't be silent, be lean. And now my guest is today Maxime Chalopin, who is the founder of ULEAN. He's as well the OPEX and senior consultant. Maxime, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for hosting me. Pleasure.
With pleasure. We will be speaking today about a lot of topics, but just tell me what does it mean, the operational excellence? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people they don't know.
Sure. So mainly it started actually so linked to lean because you have different terminology, but all in all, it's basically the same. It's similar. So it started mainly in manufacturing. So it's basically the approach of optimizing, improving, reducing the waste within manufacturing. So that's where the excellence is basically pursuing lean organization in operations. And this over the years has been also rolled out into indirect activities and administration activities. And all in all now, in the consulting industry, we talk about OPEX or operation excellence actually.
And by the way, we have in the titles, we both have it. Yeah? So it looks like we have something in common, but we will get to that definitely. Tell me about your career path. So now we will get back to it. You are now the consultant, but what was your life before the consulting?
Sure. So I basically so I'm French. I live in Belgium since 2005 approximately. So wow, it's already 20 years actually. I just realized while saying so. So I actually work in. I started to work in Toyota Motor Europe. So they have their which is basically the branch of Toyota Japan. So they have their head office in Europe in Brussels. So I worked there for nearly 9 years. So in productivity, so production analysis, and then I moved towards the internal consulting division. So working in the different factories. That's where I started to learn actually optimizing lines. So whether it is in assembly of the vehicles, but also weldings and plastic, for example, plastic shop, the different shops in a car plant, but also engine and gearbox plants. So that was quite interesting. Started to discover the travel also, discover that meeting people also bring you development in terms of culture, in terms of understanding also how to communicate with foreigners when you don't actually speak the local language, which is quite important in our work actually. And also, and then so in about 2013, I moved to the consulting world, and this is where it basically started to work different different industries such as pharmaceutical, of course, automotive as a continuation, and other type of industries. Yes.
So it means this is your 12 years already in consulting.
Yeah, I had a bit of I had a break for a year and a half in aerospace as a lean director, but basically the content of the work is pretty similar, I would say. So yeah.
Tell me what motivates you the most, in your job. I mean, now let's get only these 12 years, or only, not only, but the consultancy. What motivates you that you came back again from aerospace and you recontinued back in consultancy?
I think the challenge is interesting because it pushes you. Being a consultant is not something which is somehow easy. It is actually stressful because it's not like a full-time employee work. You need to push yourself every day, every week in order to deliver, right? So you have to actually, I would say, get the area where you work with the client, trying to understand basically what they are aiming for and help them to bring benefit and potential. And I truly believe we have it's always an ongoing self-reflection to bring value to the client. And this is actually quite challenging, of course, from a technical standpoint, but also from a human capability standpoint, because we're also developing the client also. So that's what actually drives me, I believe.
Okay. Can you see the differences, among the different industries, which is more demanding? You mentioned pharma, you mentioned aerospace, you mentioned automotive, etc. Is there any differences? I mean, how the clients are demanding, or what is different, and where you see the similarities?
Hmm. That's a good question. So I remember some years ago talking about this in with a colleague of mine, and it's true that some industries are more mature than others. Maturity means that they will understand the situation in a more pragmatic and data-driven way, and they will implement action much quicker, right? Um, which is also often linked to the, I would say, there is actually a financial link. When you have a low profitability, you've got more pressure on the shop floor, right? If we only talk about manufacturing. Um, so automotive will always be kind of triggering pressure in terms of getting results, right? Then I would say that other industry like pharma is a bit different in a sense due to regulations also, right? So that's also, of course, they have to be very very careful with patient product because of the nature of the products they actually manufacture. So, and you see that the pace is actually much slower because when you want to bring change, you have to validate. You have a lot of validation. In automotive, you can try something within 5-10 minutes,
Yeah.
and then the change you can isolate the change because there is no, it's not a life-threatening product, so to say.
Unless you
Uh,
make the brakes, yeah, I would, I would say if you mess up something with the brakes, probably this is life threatening as well. But I fully get it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then I just come out nearly 2 years and a half in the energy sector, and also it's more like in an engineering division basically. And you see, because of it's a bit different than, of course, the product is different than the pharmaceutical industry, but nevertheless, in terms of maturity, it's not too far because the project lead time is so slow, so long, that actually also the maturity is is lower than in automotive, I would say. And then the pace of pushing the change, challenging the people is also slow. So you need to actually, in order to make the movement, you need to have a very big scope so that you actually move the whole organization at once. Otherwise, it's tricky. Yes, but it's
Yeah, I
interesting.
remember. I remember for me, as you nicely compared. I remember when I changed from automotive to packaging industry, and I was hired as a regional manager, for Europe to lead it. And after 3 months, they said, "Hey, Ivan, this is not automotive. You need to slow down. We are
Yeah.
not as fast paced, so you really need to adopt and not to be. We want you to make the changes, but please don't do it as fast." So for me, it was really good lessons learned, to understand really, the differences among the different, industries and the pace.
Yeah, exactly. After you have, I believe you have a difference because in automotive you may tend to be, the scope might be very narrow. Okay, so you will work in a section of a plant or in a plant as an isolation. It would be rare than maybe a consultant can be alone, can be actually across multiple sites because we tend to do also people development and also technical
Mhm.
improvement. But on other industry, when it's slower, if you broaden the scope because you pull the organization, it's a different type of impact. But actually, you may be able to have a great benefit. You could compare it as a rowing boat. Instead, if you have 10 people in automotive, you could improve only one person, but you see that the boat will not steer straight.
Yeah.
But for lower maturity, it's more important to look at everybody at once,
Mhm.
and you keep basically going straight.
Mhm.
If
Thanks
you
for
see
that.
what I mean.
What was your turning point in your career? Yeah, why after 9 years, being employed, you decided to change, and you said, the consultancy world is completely different compared to be employed. It's demanding in some, in your in many things. So what was your turning point to say, hey, I would like to, change it completely? And what was the reason that you then, came back and to be employed even as a director and again come back? Yeah, because it's very interesting, the story, I would say, behind.
It's a mix of private and professional life. So I will not go into the detail of the private one. No, but it's basically opportunities. So I had an opportunity actually to go away from automotive back in 2013, and then I basically it's like when you are in a train station, you got a train coming in. Either you go in or you stay on the side, right? So I just went for it, and I think it was a momentum when I was actually asking myself, where am I going to be in 5-10 years, and I know I've changed a few times also back in Toyota. I've changed a few times of work because I was asking myself, right, I need to learn more things. I need to have more challenges, and I think at that point it was time to see something else.
Okay, thanks for that. Where do you see the biggest challenges?
In which term?
I mean, in the consultancy. Yeah? So, of course, you are employed through various different industries, but I mean, in the consultancy, yeah? Do you see it's rising? The demand is now rising because we are hearing about the different crises in the industry, different crises probably in automotive. Do you see that the demand is now rising because the companies, they need to be more profitable, probably more lean? Or it's you would say it's opposite, or it's stable, within these 12 years that you are in the consultancy?
It's a very good question. I think the only thing I can say is I think 2024 across the people I've talked to in my network and also some clients, it's been very challenging. It's been very challenging, very quiet. I mean, compared to 2023. Which was very, very strange, actually. Some people who are consultants, I mean, like us, were really wondering what is really happening because the demand decreased really, really in a huge manner. And then slowly, I think it's taking more shape. It's not. I would not say that it's actually the demand is really, really booming, but at least you've got some demand. Since I'm a consultant, I don't think I've heard, like last year, radio silence for months, which was a bit scary.
Do you know, and you mentioned you have, a big pool of other consultants, so you are quite aware what's going on. Do you know what was the reason of such a quiet and calm period?
I think based on my personal analysis, I would say it's there's been a lot of struggle to move forward in terms of I would say industry development. I would also the companies are really facing demand decrease, and often when the finance are basically struggling within groups, it's the first basically being cut, or basically all the consulting pool. So that's a struggle. A lot of companies also were, I think, on the second half of the year, were waiting the US elections because it does have an impact whether if people want to reallocate product from, for example, Europe to US or US to Europe or whatever. If they just cannot do like in September, October, they have to wait. Right. And knowing now that we have also tax coming for imports to US, so that's also. But the fact is, historically, the companies who are waiting for doing improvement program, they just wait, but they will do it because they know in all some groups, they understand, and this is the beauty of what we do sometimes is they know that we can actually bring value and develop their guys, their employees, their managers, their leaders, and they will come back. The point is that they also need to understand and make the status that they need to go for it. They need to basically launch a program, an improvement program in their plant. Yeah. So the understanding, just as a small conclusion, I think it's important also, I think, for us to challenge ourselves into be very clear about what value we are going to bring to the client,
Mm-hmm.
because we see also a reduction of, some companies are closing, and I know a lot of people are becoming consultant. Consulting has been a bit trendy over the last 10, 15 years, let's face it. Nevertheless, we need to be clear on what skills we have and what do we bring to the client.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And I think this is your big advantage because you have a long term experience and a lot of seeing the clients from different areas of industry. So I think
Mm.
this is the big advantage. And I think it's one of the point that you touch it at the beginning, but definitely I would like to now ask as well. Do you know in how many countries have you been improving? Because the travel is a huge portion, and to
Yeah,
be frankly speaking, when I mentioned that that I am having almost 600 flights, and everybody is just shocked, what does it mean? I said, have you been the pilot or the steward? And I said, no, I have been just improving in like
yeah.
20 countries, so a lot of flights. So I think that this is the huge portion, to be able to be out of the home, because it would be great to have the projects nearby and commuting, but I think this is not the reality.
No, it's not the reality. I'm one of those who always believe, even before or when I started to work, it's my mindset is to be quite flexible in terms of location. And then I started to work, and for whatever reason, I started to travel as well. So I'm traveling basically weekly since, I would say, 2007, 2008. So yeah, nearly also 20 years, every week, more or less. And like last year, for example, I was working between Denmark and India. But I've nearly worked, I would say, in all the EU countries, nearly all. That's what, 27, I would say, a big, 20 plus,
One more
plus,
than me. I have 90
plus,
already. I need to
plus
find
North,
something,
yeah,
or but I
plus
haven't
North
been
America,
completely.
and now a bit Asia. So yeah, it's quite intense. It's quite intense. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. We are speaking a lot of as well the fancy names like digitalization, automatization, AI, big data. How do you see it? One thing is that you can hear it everywhere, especially AI and DeepSeek, ChatGPT, OpenAI, whatever. And on the other side, what is the reality in the companies? Do you see that these nice things, and I fully agree in all of these, they are implemented, the companies are speaking about to be implemented, or it's quite the silent, and you don't hear too much about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's actually, I would say, three uh, 3 points on your question. First of all, I've seen in the last 5, 10 years companies who are really struggling with just systems.
Mm-hmm.
They struggle to get data, right? So because they don't have the right software, they don't basically there is no bottom-up approach in terms of data from the shop floor. The machines are not connected to any server, so the analysis, even the just getting the data, is not existing. So that's the first. And then after, you've got if you plug AI on top, AI anyway, you need basically a database first. So that's one. I've seen what is basically dangerous as one is the fact that in some companies, people would use AI like ChatGPT, for example, which is
Mm-hmm.
an external AI of their company. So there is a risk in terms of GDPR, in terms of leaks of information, because sometimes we just don't know what we ask, but we are just asking a question against a global database. That some information will be basically leaking to the outside world of this particular company. So what tends to be coming in the future is that each group, each company will develop their own small artificial intelligence, first of all, to grow, but to keep also this kind of data
In
security.
house. Okay.
That's important. So that's what I see. That's what I hear. That's what I read, and it's quite. I think it's a good way forward. I don't. And the last point actually would be that it's very important in our work that we do have a system which grabs data, and it helps everybody to have already like a sorting, a pre kind of first draft of conclusion, when we
Mhm.
are analyzing numbers, and this can help greatly companies. So it will be a clear enabler for a lot of companies to be even better. But it's a huge investment, and I know some companies are just not ready for it. Some
Mhm.
companies just struggle to purchase software. So in the 1, 2, 3 years, I don't see it coming. Maybe in the 5, 10 years, maybe, but it's a long journey, because it's a lot of development. Knowing the inflation rate over the last 2 to 3 years, it's going to be delicate.